Good morning, or perhaps good afternoon, my friends. Welcome once again to my humble study. The rain, as you might hear, offers its gentle rhythm against the window pane today, a fitting backdrop, I think, for the quiet contemplation we shall share. Today, I wish to address a subject that for some can carry a certain weight, an unspoken unease, the act of eating alone. In our society, a solitary diner is sometimes viewed with pity or even curiosity, as if companionship were an indispensable ingredient for a truly satisfying meal. We are often encouraged to believe that a meal shared is inherently superior, imbued with a social grace that a solitary repast simply cannot possess. Yet, from a Stoic perspective, this is a profound misunderstanding. Indeed, there is a deep and quiet dignity to be found at the solitary table, an opportunity for a rich and deeply personal experience that we would do well to recognize and cultivate, particularly as we move into the later chapters of life. Let us begin with the Stoic concept of autarkia, or self-sufficiency. This is not merely about surviving without aid, but about finding contentment and completeness within oneself, irrespective of external circumstances. When one sits down to a meal alone, one is making a quiet yet powerful declaration of autonomy. You are not dependent on another's presence to validate your experience, nor to enhance your pleasure. The food itself, its nourishment, its taste, its aroma, these are sufficient. You are, in that moment, wholly your own company, and a good Stoic learns to be excellent company indeed. Consider how often we seek external validation for our happiness. We believe a shared meal is inherently better or more enjoyable simply because another person is present. But true enjoyment, true contentment must ultimately arise from within. The Stoic understands that our happiness is not an outcome of what happens to us, but of how we respond to what happens. Eating alone is not an imposition, it is an opportunity to practice this profound self-reliance, to discover that you are already whole, already complete. It is a moment to shed the social mask, to release the subtle pressures of conversation and expectation, and simply be. To partake of sustenance not as a social ritual, but as a fundamental human act, honouring your own body and mind without needing external adornment. This leads us naturally to our second insight, the cultivation of prosos, or mindfulness, the constant attention to one's present impressions and actions. When we eat in company, our attention is often fractured. We are engaged in conversation, observing social cues, perhaps even caught in the currents of gossip or small talk. The meal itself often recedes into the background, becoming a mere backdrop to social interaction, scarcely tasted or truly appreciated. However, when you dine alone, the stage is clear. Your attention can be wholly devoted to the act of eating. You can savour each mouthful, the texture of a perfectly cooked vegetable, the subtle spices in a stew, the warmth of a freshly baked roll. You can notice the colours, the aromas, the very sensation of nourishment entering your body. This transforms eating from a hurried necessity or a social obligation into a meditative practice. It becomes an act of deep appreciation, a moment to truly connect with the sustenance that fuels your being. In this mindful engagement, you transcend mere consumption. You are not simply filling a void, you're actively participating in the process of life, honouring the food and honouring yourself. This quiet contemplation elevates the simple act of eating to a profound experience, rich in sensory detail and internal connection, a truly dignified affair. Finally, let us consider the Stoic principle of adiaphoria, or indifference to externals, coupled with the paramount importance of virtue. For many, the perceived indignity of eating alone stems not from the act itself, but from the fear of what others might think. We imagine strangers casting pitying glances, or friends wondering why we are not surrounded by company. These are mere external judgments, impressions that hold no power over our inner peace unless we grant them that power. The Stoic reminds us that true good and true dignity resides solely in our own character, in our virtues, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Whether you eat alone or in a bustling hall with a dozen companions, these virtues remain untouched. Your inner state, your tranquility, your self-respect, these are entirely within your control. The external circumstance of solitary dining is an indifferent. It is neither inherently good nor bad. What matters is how you approach that circumstance. Do you approach it with shame, with self-pity, feeling deprived? Or do you embrace it with serenity, with mindfulness, with the quiet courage of one who knows their own worth is not contingent upon external validation? The truly dignified person does not concern themselves with the fleeting opinions of others regarding an indifferent matter. They focus instead on living virtuously, on making the most of every situation, finding contentment in their own company, and cultivating an inner fortress of peace. To eat alone, then, with calm presence and a mind free from external worries, is not merely acceptable, it is an exercise in Stoic resilience, a demonstration of true inner strength and profound dignity. It is a moment where you are entirely accountable to yourself and where your self-respect shines brightest, untarnished by the need for approval. So, my friends, the act of eating alone, often misunderstood, is in fact a canvas for profound Stoic practice. It is an affirmation of your self-sufficiency, an opportunity for deep mindfulness, and a potent exercise in cultivating indifference to external judgments, grounding your dignity firmly in your own virtuous character. Let us shed the societal narrative that paints solitary dining as a lesser experience. Instead, let us embrace it as a precious opportunity for introspection, for presence, and for the quiet honouring of oneself. It is not a void to be filled, but a space to be savoured. Now, as our conversation draws to a close, I invite you to remain here for a while. Let these thoughts gently settle within you. There is no need for words, no need for action. Simply allow the quietude of this moment to deepen. Listen to the gentle patter of the rain against the window pane. Perhaps imagine the subtle crackle of a warm fire in the hearth. Close your eyes if you wish. Breathe deeply and let these insights resonate in your heart, allowing the quietude to deepen their resonance. The silence is yours.